Good evening, grave robbers. I am your TV necromancer, TV's Noah Houlihan, and this is another bonus Episolo. Yes, we are coming back from Magfest, and unfortunately, Laura caught a little bit of that nasty mag flu. So I'm going to come at you alone, Joey style, and tell you a little bit about what went down at Magfest. So this is just going to be a quick review of our time down in the Inner Harbor, so I hope you sit back and enjoy as I just rant about my weekend. First and foremost, didn't stay in the Inner Harbor. We stayed in Alexandria, which is much cheaper, and you don't have to enter a lottery to get a hotel room. And I found a Taco Bell cantina. That's a Taco Bell that serves alcohol. You think you've had Taco Bell before? Well, let me tell you, why don't you get a chalupa and a frozen Baja Blast with rum in it and tell me now that's what Taco Bell should be. So if you get a chance to find a Taco Bell cantina, I highly recommend it. We went twice. It was incredible. It was magic. I still am unsure if it really exists, but I took pictures just to make sure. It's a very magical place. So if you don't know what Magfest is, now that I'll actually rant about the convention, it is a music and gaming festival that happens in Inner Harbor, Maryland every year. And it is a 24-hour con that starts on a Thursday. So it is absolute madness. And we were lucky to be booked for multiple shows. So on Thursday, we started with a stand-up comedy workshop. This is something that we did last year, and this is a new thing that we're kind of bringing to Magfest. As you may notice, MAG stands for music and gaming. Comedy's not in there, in that abbreviation at all. But we bring the comedy, and we basically explained how to write comedy. And it was about half full, which is pretty good for a Thursday. We had a few people that had seen us last year, which was super cool. And we just hung out and talked about comedy, which is one of my absolute favorite things to do. If you ever want to just walk up to me, just walk up and say, hey, what do you think about comedy? And I'll have tons of stuff to say. So thank you to everyone who came. And also thank you to the very helpful MAG staff. We had a PowerPoint presentation that we wanted to show that we had on a Galaxy tablet. And the device we brought in order to display said PowerPoint was not working. But due to some creative problem solving, we got it to work, which was super awesome. So thank you so much for the MAG staff for letting that happen. And then later on, we had a little bit of Game the Gamer. Yes, I love doing Game the Gamer. It's so much fun. This time we decided to mix it up a bit, and we only used the Switch, which we had never used in Game the Gamer before. So it was a Switch exclusive round of Game the Gamer. If you don't know what Game the Gamer is, where have you been? This is like one of the big things we do. But it is a game show that is similar but legally distinct from Cutthroat Kitchen, in which I give you 50 mag points because we're at Magfest. And all you have to do to hold on to those mag points is play 3 video games and not come in last. If you come in last, you have to give back all your mag points. But before each game, we're going to have an auction. The auction will let you buy advantages for yourself or disadvantages for your opponents. But you're bidding with your own prize money, so bid wisely. Now, I haven't revealed this yet, but we had a big problem with what we had planned. Like I said, we're using the Switch, and first off, the Switch did not want to work with the projector. We had a staff guy come in and try to fix it, and he turned the projector off. And then I was like, how's it going? He was like, oh, the problem's not with the Switch, it's with the projector. I was like, oh, okay, how are we going to fix this? And he said, I don't know. And then he left. So no thank you to that staff member. Thank you to all the other staff members who came and helped out, which was super great. But we thought we'd have Wi-Fi in the room, and we didn't. And that's not on the fault of MAG. That's something we probably should have considered. So the first game we were actually supposed to play was Quiplash, but that requires an internet connection. So since we were unable to do that, we had to go with Plan B, which I had kind of I always have a plan B in case a game suddenly doesn't work. I was afraid that for some reason we'd end up with 4 contestants without smartphones, which is a ridiculous thought to have in the year 2020. But that was my fear. So I had a backup plan just in case of Dr. Mario. So we ended up playing Dr. Mario with 4 people who were really terrible at Dr. Mario. I was actually afraid that we were going to end up running long because of Dr. Mario. And Dr. Mario lasted, I don't know, all of 6 minutes. And we had to play 3 games. We had to do a loser tournament, and it just flew by. It was a unique situation, to say the least. But thank you so much to our 4 players, which include Just Mary, Celsius. Oh, I forget the other guy. I'm so sorry. And our winner, King Kai. King Kai was able to win with 18 mag points. So all of this is actually available, I believe, on YouTube, or will be available on YouTube, because it was all streamed live on Twitch. And they usually take what was on Twitch and they throw it up on the YouTubes. So I'll include links because I don't have time to edit it into this episode, because it is, of course, an Episolo bonus episode. We were also lucky enough to do Maglapse on Friday, which I was able to host. Laura was a performer on, and it was a 2-hour comedy showcase. I was your host, and I was joined by the likes of Joey Purse, Izzy for Real, Rosa, whose last name I'm pretty sure I'm saying wrong, Escandon. She always said it with like an accent, so my tongue doesn't do that. I'm sorry. Chelsea Short. Sam and Bill was our musical headliners, and Dash, I had to write his name down phonetically, and I don't have it in front of me anymore. Kiewandowski, I believe it was. Dash was fantastic. Basically, Magfest told me to kind of help put this together, and due to a bunch of issues outside of this podcast, I wasn't really able to do it, and Dash picked up a lot of the slack. So thank you so much to Dash. Dash put together a fantastic show. All the comedians were very funny. We went a little bit more R-rated than I was ready for, because I super cleaned up my act, and I had a joke I really wanted to do that was filthy, and I cut it, and then I was full of the comedy regret after I saw everybody else's set. But everyone seemed to have a good time. I know a few of the comics were upset that people left, but it was 2 hours, and a lot of people left right at the 1 hour mark. So I just took it that they stopped by, and then they had another thing to do. But thank you so much for all the people that came out and saw us do some stand-up comedy. And speaking of comedy, I was also lucky enough to join for the first year with These Guy Are Sick, which is the improv troupe. Laura is better at improv than me and was already part of this group, but this was my introductory year, run by Britt Vanderbroek and Darren DeMarco. You might remember Brett from Captain S, and Darren is his tag team partner in starting this group. And These Guys Are Sick is, of course, a Final Fantasy VII reference, if you didn't get that. We did a little bit of improv, and we played a bunch of games that were new, that I wasn't really prepared to do. We did a new game called Sex With Me, where we would get a suggestion, such as, what were one of our suggestions? Grandma. And we'd have to get on stage and say, sex with me is like grandma. I've fallen, and I can't get it up. So things like that. That was a super fun game. Also, I performed a game with this guy, Ruben, where we had to talk with one voice, which means we tried to say the same thing as each other at the same time. And it was an absolute blast. I hadn't kicked off the rust of an improv show in quite some time. I believe the last time I did improv was at Too Many Games with Laura and Ian Voffler. So that was like 2 years ago. So it felt good to put on my improv pants again, because I hadn't worn those in a while. And speaking of pants, Ruben ripped his pants during the show. And luckily, his roommate was able to run upstairs and get him a new pair of pants. And we decided, or rather he decided, that when he changed, they would do a scene about his pants ripping. So we asked for a suggestion of who ripped Ruben's pants, and it was the Goose. So Laura played the Goose from Untitled Goose Game, and stole Ruben's pants. Absolutely hilarious, super fun, and like true improv in that we had no plan of doing a game of such a sort, because How Did My Pants Get Ripped as an improv game had never been invented until we did it at Magfest. So we're up here innovating and improving. That's two in words. And we ended with a new game called Fan Fiction, where we took two things and blended them together, kind of like the Slash Fiction World Championships, but less filthy. At least we were hoping it was less filthy. But our suggestions to mash up was Sonic the Hedgehog and Magic Mike. So if you would like to see a video of me shaking my butt and then miming putting a finger up someone else's butt, you can find that at the These Guy Are Sick improv show. So that was super fun. I had an absolute blast with all those guys. And then we ended with a CPW panel, Cosplay Pro Wrestling, where I was joined by Dave and Joe, who are our Mega Man and Ryu, respectively. Dave also plays our Sub-Zero. And we showed some clips and we watched some wrestling. And it was great because one thing that I usually don't show at the panels that I showed at this one was stuff from our KatoriCon show, which was our first show, and we've not been back to KatoriCon since. And some of the people there were in attendance at that show. So I got to give them some like behind the scenes talk of what went wrong at that show. And they got to give me some behind scenes of the consequences of doing that show. So that was super fun. So thank you to everyone that came out to the CPW panel. So that's basically it for what we performed. Unfortunately, because we were performing so much and because we were kind of far away, we didn't get a big chance to spend a lot of time at the convention. I got to go through the Indie Showcase once, and I got to play Poot Scoot, which used 2 trackballs to control a puppy. That was fun. I stopped by the arcade. I saw my buddy Frank, who does announcing for video games. That was really cool. I got to stop by the museum, which is my favorite part of Magfest, which I think is underappreciated. Basically, it sets up a bunch of old video games you wouldn't get to play anywhere else. And this time they really expanded it. There was the arcade museum, so we had some, Mr. Do and some Pac-Man and stuff in that room. Then there was a console museum where I sat down and made my eyes bleed and played some Virtual Boy. I think it was also a broken Virtual Boy because it was like glitching out, unless that's how it's supposed to look, which, is entirely possible. And then there's also a computer museum where we played some Wheel of Fortune. Carmen Sandiego was being played. There was some Diablo. It's a fantastic little slices of video game history that you can just see all around the convention, which was super cool. I also got to dance with the Snorlax, which is super awesome. Didn't get to go to any of the concerts live. I was at a room party and we live streamed, because again, everything's on Twitch, the Power Glove and the Proto Man concert, which was fantastic. I need to actually get to one of these concerts, but eventually I'll go. But I like sleeping and drinking in my room a lot, so. Ooh, maybe I'll cut that line. Nah, I like partying. What do you know? So that was Magfest. I'm going to tell one other quick story before I let you go, because this almost ruined our time. Before we went home, we went to a restaurant called Mackey's, and I couldn't believe what happened. I ordered some French toast. Laura ordered a meatball sandwich, and it took a surprisingly large amount of time. We got some coffee. She came over and apologized, our waitress, because it was taking long because I ordered French toast. And I was like, that's weird. I feel like French toast doesn't actually take that long. I mean, I guess if you didn't plan on making French toast and you need to make the batter, I don't know. It seemed very strange, but I was like, whatever. And then Laura's meatball sandwich came out with nothing on it. There was no marinara sauce. And we're like, well, that's weird. Well, when she comes back, we'll get some marinara sauce. Well, she didn't come back. I had to go find her. And I found her. I was like, there should be marinara sauce on this sandwich. Can she get some marinara sauce? And her response was, it should be in the sandwich. At which I responded, you're correct, it should be. It's not. And then she said, well, did you check? As if we were just like, oh, we didn't look at the sandwich. We just, felt around with our toes on the sandwich and didn't think there was any marinara sauce. No, there's no marinara sauce. Of course we looked. That's why we're talking to you about it. She's like, all right, I'll get you some marinara sauce. And she walked to the back and she came back and said, so the chef just informed me we are out of marinara sauce. So I have brought you some mayonnaise, some ranch dressing, and some Caesar dressing to replace it. All things that are not marinara sauce really in any way. Like not even like ketchup, which would have made some sort of sense. And I looked at her and I said, this is not the time to have this conversation. Because if you think back to that story, the waitress had to go and tell the chef, hey, meatball sandwich. At which point the chef should say, we don't have any marinara sauce. But that didn't happen. And then the waitress came up to me and said, it's taking a little bit of a longer time because of the French toast. Which means the meatball sandwich was already made without marinara sauce. Conversation could have been had there. But no, then it was given to us, which makes me think that the chef was just trying to get away with it. Because I don't know why you would serve that and just be like, well, we don't have any marinara sauce. Maybe they won't tell. What is the plan here into serving this without marinara sauce? Then to claim that we didn't know what marinara sauce was and just didn't look for it? Absolutely insane. And then to come out with mayonnaise and just be like, this is what I got. Sorry. We were so frustrated. Needless to say, we did not pay for that meatball sandwich, nor did we eat it. And we're really grumpy about it. So just want to tag that at the end because this is going to come in under 20 minutes. And it was a very memorable part of our trip. So thank you to everyone that came out and saw us at Magfest. We had an absolute blast. Thank you for listening to me ramble, as we do not have a full episode of Stay Doomed this week because Laura is sick and because we were at Magfest. We were there for ever. It was a lot of work, a lot of things to do. So be sure to join us next week. We'll get back to form as we will be watching Shattered, which is a UK reality show where contestants have to stay awake for a week straight. It sounds intriguing, right? It's not. But if you want to watch it, links will, of course, be in the comments below, or the description below, rather, along with some links to some stuff we did at Magfest. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to reach out to us, we're at Stay Doomed on Twitter. I'm at TV's Noah. You can reach us at the Stay Doomed Show at gmail.com if you want to suggest some stuff for us to watch. And as always, stay doomed. Is it obvious I don't usually do the outro?